What is the latest in Warzone this week? We have you covered with the news. We also have our top 5 clips of the week. Who wins this time? We have got into an interview with pro player from the Royal Ravens, Reese, better known as Rated. We check out whether or not you should be running the AUG in Verdansk. And we drop into Storage Town to find out if that's where you should be going to get the wins on Morezone. Hello and welcome to Morezone, everything Call of Duty, Warzone and more. I'll be your host, Alan Bryce, and I'll be bringing you all the action this week. Well, speaking of action, let's get right into the news. This week in the news, we have Warzone Weekend that has gone on again. This time a trios kill race from the pro teams, meaning you get points for kills, but also winning the game and completing contracts in Verdansk. It looked like the Seattle Surge team were on pace to win it, actually winning and getting that first place at the end. Unfortunately though, the Minnesota Rockier team of Silly Assault and ASIM ended up getting more points overall, and they walk away with the win. Speaking of winning, the London Home Series, of course, was going on, and the pro teams threw down again. A final between Paris and Dallas ended up with Paris walking away with a swift 3-0 as they continue their dominance in the league. Our very first sneak peek at Season 5 has arrived. Nick Merckx had a chance to play a teaser, and it looks like something to do with train tracks going on in Verdansk, but that's all we know so far, and we eagerly await more. Speaking of Nick Merckx, of course, his MFam gauntlet is continuing. There are many chances to qualify for the main event, from duos, trios and quads continuously going on, so I suggest you check him out. This is just going to be the Week 2 qualifier winners, but so much more to come from one of the biggest tournaments in Warzone. And that is all we have in the news this week. Alright, well, there's the news. Speaking of great news, we are giving away another Warzone gift package for our top 5 clips. So submit either to Twitter the Morezone or Reddit r/Morezone, Twitch clip or YouTube link. That's all you need to put in. But speaking of top 5 clips, here they are. At number 5, we see a spray onto a door that baits the player out for an easy kill. Great use of the in-game spray. Sometimes you just got to play smarter. Down low on the dam seems like a bad place to be, but staying calm and bringing out the sniper is going to allow Matty Man a fighting chance against these last 2 players. As he just sees them, gets one casual headshot, the other player jumps. That's another headshot. So much for the high ground, and that's a Warzone victory. At number 3, we have All Platform Gaming. Being chased here, actually, by another team, decides to take a quick break to plant a C4. Then decides to get back in the car just in the nick of time as shots start raining in. Goes all the way across the map and decides to have a look. And is that a helicopter following? Oh, it is. Must be that team has jumped in, and down they go. Smart play from them. At number 2, we have Shojajul, and this is a great play. Just back from the gulag in the dying seconds of the game. Melees one player out of it. Doesn't have chance. Another player there as well. Takes that one down. Stops the self-revive that was coming in. And decides can't even pick up a gun as one player left. It's a 1v1. Tries to win it. Does eventually. It's a pistol off. Warzone victory. In at number 1, we have Toon Squad 89, and has probably the best throwable of them all. It's a helicopter, uses to drop 2 of them on the roof. But that's not enough, because he's actually playing trios. So goes back onto this one and uses a slightly less explosive C4 to take out the entire team. And that's our number 1 clip this week. Another great set of clips this week. But speaking of great clips, I know somebody has already submitted a few themselves to the show, and probably because it's pretty easy for them. That's our guest this week on the Loadout Highlight. It's going to be Reese Price, better known as Rated from the Royal Ravens. Let's see what he's running in Verdansk. Hello Reese, how are you? Thanks for joining me.
I'm not too bad. It's just been a while since I've been on one of these, so yeah. Not doing too bad.
Good to hear. Good to hear. I see you've been grinding the Warzone out and kind of putting me to shame in some of the clips I've seen from you. So I know you're certainly enjoying that. But let's get straight into your loadout then. Let's start with the kilo. You're running the kilo in the current meta. The interesting thing about that at the moment is I think this is probably the most diverse gun meta we've had for main assault rifles anyway. So I'm just going to quickly ask you, why the kilo?
I sort of just followed what I've seen a lot of like the good sweaty wager kids doing because
Yeah.
before the Grau got nerfed, like some of the majority of the wager kids were already using the kilo.
Okay.
So like I didn't think the kilo was as good as the Grau pre-patch, but after the patch, it kind of just made sense to go to the kilo because they did nothing to it. And I think the Grau's still usable,
Mhm.
as I think quite a few of the big streamers still use it, but I think the kilo just has that extra kick to it.
No, I agree. It's a very stable gun in terms of like trying to get those shots hit and stuff. I'm guessing you haven't either tried the Bruin yet or not decided to go to the
I, did,
M4.
I tried it, but I didn't. Well, I haven't. I'm trying a new loadout today, but I tried the Bruno. I just didn't like how slow it aimed in.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes
It
sense.
aimed in too slow for me. Like I just didn't. It didn't. I didn't feel comfortable. But today I'm trying the Bruin with attack laser instead of commando, which is what a few people use to negate the aiming in slow.
Oh, yeah, I
So
can,
I
I can see
could
that.
quite easily switch to the Bruin if I like that because that's definitely probably the most OP gun right now. Because it just literally it melts. It kills you super quick.
Yeah,
But
it
I
does.
just didn't like how slow it aimed in.
Yeah, like I said before, I really like the fact. I mean, like even the M4 is still viable, so there's a good thing. You run into the like different loadouts pretty much on everybody.
Yeah.
One thing I did notice about your gun, the sight, the canted sight. Why is that helping? Why have you got the thing where you kind of switch the red dot on?
I don't even switch to the red dot, but I don't like how zoomed in the VLK is.
Oh, okay.
Cause like I say this on my stream whenever it asks, it's like 90% of the time up close I'll use the MP5 anyway.
Uh-huh.
But it's in that 10% chance where I have to use the AR. I felt with the VLK I just had no chance at all
Oh, okay.
because
Yeah, I
it
can
was
see
too
that.
zoomed in. So like it's for a very small reason, but it's definitely I just think the VLK was too zoomed in. I didn't like it.
Oh, that's actually a really good reason. I'll have to have a bit of an experiment myself and see how it kind of plays out with it. Kind of moving on with the rest of your class. You spoke about the MP5. It's again pretty much a similar meta MP5 for you. The only difference, and again, this is something that I'm seeing a lot of at the moment. You've got the slight hand-on instead of maybe a laser. Is that just for you prefer it? Is it something you don't think you need more ADS speed or?
Well, I see a lot of the streamers use it because they literally don't aim in. They literally just hit fire when they use that laser. But I think the Merc foregrip does enough anyway, where you don't really have to aim in anyway. And I just think sleight of hand just, I don't know. The way I play is like if I'm in a building, I down one and then do the loop de loop, then on another and then run out. Like I'm not trying to just wipe squads just like instantly. I usually like take my time in fights.
Okay, a little bit of positioning
Yeah,
over
yeah,
aggression. Yeah, I like that. I think that's a good point to make here. You're running pretty much a very similar thing that I've seen a lot of the time. Double time, obviously the overkill to get the two guns to kick it off with, and amped. Is there any of those you've thought about switching out?
yeah, I'm actually well, I'm not switching the perks, but I'm switching the one class up. I thought about this the other day. Is on my overkill class,
Yeah.
so my first loadout, I'm gonna switch a stun to a heartbeat because when I have that class, and not many people should have ghost.
Oh, okay, yeah, that
And
makes
then
sense.
when I get my second loadout off the free one and I switch to ghost, I'll switch to stuns because that's when a lot of people start getting ghost, and then the heartbeat's not as useful as it one be. But I have been using stuns the entire time, but that's the only thing I'm gonna switch. And like I only use double time because when I play, I'm going for like it's usually in tournaments or like anything. So I need to like just get across the map, move quickly.
Uh-huh.
So I need to get a lot of kills. I would use EOD if I was playing more casually because it is really OP.
Yeah.
But obviously I need to like get moving around the map. So that's the only reason why I use double time.
No, I mean that makes perfect sense. I've spoken to it before. I think it's a conversation some teams have. How early are we getting our first loadout? Because some teams will
Yeah.
go, well, actually, if it's a bit late and we've had a bit of a rough start, then maybe we go for Ghost now, because that's when UAV
Yeah.
start flying about, right? You're like, oh, now I'm in serious trouble.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. And then you've got the standard C4. Nothing else really to replace that, I'm guessing.
Nah, C4 is definitely it's just super OP.
No, it makes sense. Like I said, this is a very well-rounded kind of loadout. We've seen a few people run it as well, and I'm guessing, you know, when you're going for those, because you are playing in a lot of tournaments at the moment, right? High kill games
Yeah,
and that sort
I
of stuff.
play as many as I can get in.
Yeah, and this is what you would run in one of those.
Yep, every time.
Awesome. All right. Well, you know, big thing there from Reese. If you are watching, this is something you should probably run if you are trying to do those wager tournaments or kill races. Let's talk on the way you like to drop then. Whereabouts are you dropping currently in Verdansk?
When I play tournaments, it's like usually always super because it's just otherwise you're missing a lot of kills. But I personally like hangars, which is the airfield next to super. So I feel like like super fights are usually like 50-50s. Like you only have to go there tournaments because otherwise you're gonna miss out on a lot of kills.
Yeah.
I feel like whereas if you land hangars, the fights are just a lot easier. You just like sit on a rooftop. You kind of Whereas like in Super, you run down an alleyway and there's someone sat in a dirty corner. Like it's a lot more RNG. Whereas hangers, I feel like I don't really die that often, and the fights are just a lot easier. So I personally would pick hangers if I was to choose anywhere.
I like that. I think that's one of my main drops as well for the exact reason you said. You know, you can still have a fight at hangers. You can still get those early kills, but it's not. Super Store is always going to be a risk versus a reward. You know, you get somebody in that early pistol drop goes wrong, something, you know, it can ruin a playthrough for you. But no, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, let's talk about your tips for Warzone then. You know, coming from a pro player as yourself, what do you recommend people kind of do when they jump into Verdansk?
I would just say take your time in fights. Like I'm usually like solo squad and stuff. So like I feel like positioning in Warzone I think is 95% of the fight. Like and when I'm in like 1v2s, 1v3s or whatever it may be, like I always like to just get one kill and then reset the fight. Like I see a lot of teams try fighting 3 people at once, 2 people at once. Like I like to just pick one person off the team, reset the fight. Like always just make sure I'm fully plated. Make sure you have plates, because plates are actually the most important thing. But if you don't have plates, you're gonna die to whoever it may be. Like the guy could be terrible. But
No,
yeah, I'd
good.
say positioning. Positioning is probably the most important thing.
I love that. The kind of 2 tips in one there, positioning and plates, and I couldn't agree more with you. Know, I think people undervalue plates. You know, it's one of the things like, oh,
yeah, they think, oh, I've got one plate, I can just kill him quickly, and then you just get melted, and you're like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah, 100%. All right, well, thank you very much for joining me here, Reese. I do appreciate you coming on.
No problem, always.
Awesome, right? Thank you. See you soon. Well, there you go. There's Reese for you, and you can catch him streaming most of the time. Plays an awful lot of tournaments, so if you like that in Warzone, make sure to check him out. Now, from a meta gun that he's running to an off-the-meta gun, this week we take a look at the AUG. Okay, this week we are taking a little look at the AUG. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I have set this up several different ways. My first configuration didn't go so well, so I'm going to show you both in case you try it yourself. I did try to set this up as actually more of a kind of AR. Now, you can put the 5.56 ammo in, and you can put a long barrel on it, and you can make it look pretty much like an AR. I thought maybe this is the way to go with this weapon. Low recoil, long range, high power. It could work very well. Standard attachments, commando foregrip, long barrel, monolithic suppressor, pretty much goes on every single gun these days. But that's the way I thought about setting it up. Unfortunately, it doesn't work very well. It's got too much recoil. It doesn't hit as hard as you would like to. Unfortunately, in Warzone, it's just not as viable as pretty much any of the other ARs you could use. Even the CR56 is above this. It's fun to kind of have and to play with and go, you know what, this is a little bit different. Maybe a challenge for yourself to set it up as an AR. But I can't recommend it. It just kind of falls short in all the areas you want it to. So what I do recommend, run it as an SMG. I know that sounds obvious. It is an SMG. But run it as an SMG. You can still use the 60-round mags of higher ammo. You can still put better attachments on it. You don't really need a longer barrel. Get yourself a more foregrip. Get yourself a tac laser. What you've got is a really effective platform for those close-range gunfights. Now, it does have a little bit more recoil than some of the other weapons, namely like the MP7 and the MP5, but I had an alright time with it. It's definitely a lot better in this configuration. I put the stipple grip tape on as well, by the way, so you can change it out maybe for a stock, but it's a little bit better than some of the others. It's not going to kill as fast as a Fennec, it's not going to be as stable as an MP7, and it's not going to be as versatile as an MP5. But the AUG can do pretty much all of these roles itself with a bigger clip. I did try it out with a smaller round, you know, and that had basically no recoil at that point. But it's good. You can have it in any configuration you want. 60 rounds. The only downside to this gun is the bad iron sight. Well, there's the org, as you can tell, and if I'm running a little bit wrong, please let me know. I did try it in a few different ways, as you can see, but I just couldn't get to grips with it fully. But let's check out another thing now. Where to drop in Verdansk? Where's a good drop? Let's find out in our map highlight. Okay, let's head into Storage Town. Now, being around the edge of the map, it is a pretty chaotic start, but it also has some great rotations. As you can see, Superstore is near it, so is Airport. So you're probably thinking, this might be a good place to go if I want a high kill game or to kick things off. And it can be. If the line goes directly over it from the start, you have a great chance of getting a lot of people here straight off the rip. The reason you might not, though, is basically how Storage Town is laid out. Because it's got all these rows here, and you've got these roofs people like to run along, it can be a little bit difficult for coordination of any sort of team. And it also means you can be either quite vulnerable, or you could just find people hiding in corners. And this is a terrible mix of that when you're trying to get high kill games or be consistent. It is an area, if you want to play a bit sneaky, that you can do, especially early game before people get UAVs and those heartbeat sensors, or if you've got Ghost. But it is going to be very close quarters the majority of the time. If you do try to get onto a roof, obviously the old adage is saying that while you can see everyone, they can also see you. So be very, very careful when getting any height in this area. It is one of those ones where, realistically, SMGs are king. You want to make sure that you stay alive for as long as possible and kind of play loose and fast. Explosives also very useful in this area because you'll be throwing over fences, throwing them to try and clear out some of these garages where people could be hiding. It's got a decent amount of loot around the place as well. You just have to kind of search to find it because it is always in these nooks and crannies and these little areas to try and get to. But in general, Storage Town is a pretty good place to drop or rotate later on. There's usually a buy here or a couple of contracts. It is near some of the big hotspots on the map, so maybe if you want a quiet start, you could start here and get out as long as you can survive and your teammates are pretty much on the ball and keeping pretty close contact. You don't want to go too far away from each other. It can be quite difficult for a teammate to catch up to you in this area if you get into some trouble, as they have to wind their way around or suicidally charge across the roofs. But in general, Storage Town isn't a bad place. It is pretty good and a lot of fun. I hope you enjoy. There you go. There's Storage Town. Let me know if it's a frequent drop of yours in the comments. Make sure to check out the rest of our socials. It is going to be r/Morezone on Reddit, or the Twitter is the Morezone. We make sure to get those clips in as well. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.
There's one shot, now the future is yours.